Welcome to the Dugout. I'm your host, Joseph Silva. On today's episode, we are recapping 3 of the 4 Wildcard Series, previewing Game 3 of the Mets and Brewers, and previewing all the Division Series that are happening this weekend. But before we get started, if you're enjoying the content, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Play Network. NFL season's in full swing. Basketball season's just about to get started. I wouldn't want to miss any of the content the boys are dropping. It's fire. And we begin with the Astros and Tigers, and the Tigers have done it. They did what the Dodgers could not, what the Yankees could not, what the entirety of the American League cannot. They slayed the giant. The witch is dead. The Astros are out of the playoffs. For the first time since 2016, they will not be in the ALCS, and it is a great day if you're an Astros hater. I'm not calling the dynasty dead. I've done that once before. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. But in the series, Joe Espada just got outmanaged badly. Josh Hader should not have pitched in Game 1 whatsoever. It was not the top of the lineup. It was not a close game. It ended up being a close game. And yes, you couldn't make the argument Hader held it well, but you did not throw a Presley. You did not throw a Abreu in the series at all. There was no need for Hader to come in. He was gassed in Game 2. And on top of that, he should not have been pitching multiple innings in that second game as well. And he was just making bad pitches, bad calls. That double to Ibanez that cleared the bases should have been a slider. He was on the fastball the entire time. Just bad managerial decision from him. And then 2, where did the clutch Houston hitting go? They were only 3 for 13 runners in scoring position the whole series. You expect a lot more out of Altuve, Bregman, Jordan, and Tucker, who themselves this series were not great. They pulled the same disappearing act that Betts and Freeman have in the past 2 division series, as they were 6 for 29 in the series and 1 for 13 in the decisive Game 2. Brutal stuff. I get this Tigers team plays matchups all day long. They have a phenomenal bullpen. But you've done it off Chapman, off so many of the best. And to see you struggle like this, it is just rough to see overall. And it may have been Alex Bregman's last game as an Astro too. Just a bad series for them overall. Hunter Brown did all he could in Game 2, but Framber Valdez continued his postseason struggles in Game 1. Did not look good. Just could not put hitters away in that 2-out rally in the second against the Tigers. Brutal stuff overall. But AJ Hinch showed why he won a World Series, quote unquote. I'm not acknowledging that ring. But he is a very good manager. He pushed all the right buttons in this series. He only made one mistake, and that was Jackson Jobe in Game 2. But I can see the thought process here. I just wouldn't put him in that high leverage spot to begin with. And the big thing for me is in Game 1, when Foley clearly did not have it, is it took guts to pull him when you did. You made the right decision to pull him. You brought in the right arm, and you held this Astros team in check and won Game 1. But overall, Tariq Skubal was as advertised in Game 1. He went 6 fantastic innings, 4 hits, no earned, a walk, 6 strikeouts. He pitched out of jams. He looked dominant. Was not fazed by the moment, was not fazed by the Houston crowd. He was perfect and exactly what the Tigers need. Gave them the momentum and gave them what they needed to win this series overall. And this Tigers team is just a lot of fun. They play matchups a lot, so that's why, when I talked about them in the preview, you only had the 2 hitters with the WRC plus over 100, but Hinch has figured out where to put them in the right scenarios to begin with. And their series against the Tigers, this one's for the baseball sickos out there. I don't expect any casuals to enjoy this series at all, because these are 2 teams that hit not the best with okay starting rotations and fantastic bullpens. You're going to see a lot of 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 games. It is going to be pitchers' duels. It's going to be over quickly. And it's going to be quote-unquote boring baseball that everyone talks about. It's still going to be an intense series. This is the first time these division rivals are matching up. Overall, I think the Tigers might actually take it. I still do not trust that Cleveland rotation. And Manning and Skubal should be fantastic. Or Mize and Skubal should be fantastic overall. Really fun stuff. I cannot wait for that division series. In the other wildcard series in the American League, we have the Orioles and Royals. And for the Orioles, could anyone on this team hit a fucking baseball, man? Because it was rough. Absolutely rough. I praise this Orioles team for their lineup depth. That's the one strength they had going in. This is what could carry them to the promised land. It carried them straight out of Camden Yards and to Cancun. Because Gunnar Henderson, 0 for 7, 4 strikeouts. Adley Rutschman, 1 for 8, 2 strikeouts. Mountcastle, 0 for 7, 4 strikeouts. Santander, 1 for 7, 2 strikeouts. Westberg, 1 for 6, 2 strikeouts. Kowser, 1 for 7, 3 strikeouts. I get it. You were facing Singer and Lugo, and they are two phenomenal pitchers. They are probably going to finish top 5 in American League Cy Young voting. But this is how you have to hit off of in October. And again, you could not get it done. You couldn't get it done against Texas last year. You couldn't get it done against Kansas City this year. And I'm really starting to doubt whether or not this is just a good hitting core or they just bully bad teams and inflate their numbers. Because really, it was not pretty to watch at all. A lot of clutch at-bats that just were not taken by this team at all. You got to figure something out. You got to change your approach. You got to do something here because Burns and Eflin, they were as advertised. Burns was heroic to keep the game as close as he did in Game 1. He made one mistake, and unfortunately that was too many the way this Orioles team was going. Eflin was efficient, didn't go deep into the game, and the bullpen really picked up the slack. Overall, very disappointing from Baltimore. Might be the choke of the year, quite frankly, because you had so much talent. This was not a good Kansas City bullpen, and you made them look like Cleveland's. Brutal stuff overall. For the Royals, the starting pitching was great overall. You're worried a little bit about Singer, but I think he should be fine overall. Lugo did not have his command, but still pitched around jams and handed it off to the bullpen, who really surprised me in this series because I did not expect him to be good at all. I thought they were the worst bullpen coming in the playoffs. When I was doing the preview, I was searching up and down for names, and Eckert was the only one I thought was worth talking about. But everyone stepped up and played in a huge way. The offense was not great. They were facing a lot of good starting pitching, but they took advantage of their opportunities. 3 for 10 in running in scoring position. Bobby Witt Jr. was big in this series. Pasquantino looks like he had not missed a step at all since coming back from injury. Just great stuff from Kansas City. And a really interesting division series against the Yankees because they don't have as deep of a lineup as the Orioles, but they can hit the ball out hard. And that really can change the postseason on a dime. Because as you saw, it's very hard to string these hits together against this quality pitching. So Judge, Soto, Stanton, those are guys who can just absolutely demolish a baseball. So I'm fascinated to see where this is going to end up because it's great pitching, good hitting with good pitching. The Royals really took advantage of their opportunities, but this has to be the Yankees' year. Because the roadblock is finally out of your way. This is the easiest path you're going to have. You have to take advantage of it because there is no way you can choke this. Okay, you're facing the AL Central, the division that was single-handedly bolstered by playing the White Sox as many times as they did. If you don't get it done, it is a massive choke job. So the Yankees will beat the Royals in the division series. But switching over to the National League, a really fun series between the Brewers and Mets. And for the Brewers, Jackson Chourio is as advertised, man. 2 hits in both the games thus far in the Wildcard Series, including 2 big home runs, the leadoff shot in Game 2 and then the team-tying shot in Game 2 as well. He is unbelievable, such a fun talent. I'm glad they stuck with him, let him get the runway, let him get his struggles out of the way, because he is such a fun candidate. They have him locked up long-term, bright future for him in Milwaukee. The starting pitching has been up and down. Peralta didn't have it at all. Montas did not have it at all. The bullpen really is asked to do so much. And even for a good Milwaukee bullpen, you see that if you're asked to pitch multiple innings, you're really going to be struggling because you have to be perfect every single time. And they were not perfect in Game 1. They were perfect in Game 2, Fantastic performance from them, but can they do it again in Game 3? Because we don't know if Tobias Myers is going to go 5 innings pitched. More likely, he's going to get pulled somewhere in the 4th. And it really becomes do you pull the right levers at the right time? I don't really trust him. necessarily, especially because the Mets, their starting pitching has been going deep in the games, really leveraging the big arms. And importantly, they've not used Edwin Diaz at all in this series. So I'm looking at Diaz pitching 2 innings in this do-or-die Game 3 because he's fresh. They're going to need him. He's not been perfect, but he's still the best arm in that bullpen, and he's going to be necessary. But offensively for the Mets, they need to be better with runners in scoring position. In Game 1, they were 5 for 7, 2 for 11 in Game 2. And the long ball has not been there at all. They have a very good home run per at-bat rate, one of the best in the playoffs. But if you're not hitting it out, you really have to have clutch hitting here. So look for Lindor, Alonso to really try and drive the ball in Game 3 and hit it out. Because I don't really know if they can put up a Game 1 type performance again and really win this thing. But I still think it's going to be the Brewers. I trust their pitching a little bit more. I trust the offense a little bit more. They should have a fun one with the Padres, or with the Phillies, sorry. And speaking of the Padres, they faced off against the Braves, and you just saw the injuries for Atlanta pile up. It was Michael Harris against the world, quite frankly, because in the series, he was 5 for 8 with a double, a home run, scored 2 runs and 2 RBIs. He was fantastic. He made plays in center field. He had timely and clutch hits when they needed him to. But the rest of the lineup was poor. They were 8 for 58. Olsen did not look good. Ozuna did not look good. And then after that, it's Arcia, d'Arnaud, Murphy. None of them really stepped up, and that's where you really felt the absence of Acuna and Riley. Is this lineup was so much deeper the past 2 seasons, and they just didn't have it at all this year. And then, too, it came up in the rotation as well, because A.J. Smith-Shawver started Game 1. I get Chris Dale is hurt and you used all your arms in the doubleheader, but if A.J. Smith-Shawver is starting Game 1, you're in trouble, especially with the way Michael King looked in Game 1, because my God, was that a dominant pitching performance for him. He was the first pitcher in playoff history with no runs, no walks, no hit by pitches, and 12 strikeouts in a game. They had him fooled. He had, I think it was d'Arnaud swinging at a pitch that was literally a whole other strike zone away from the strike zone. He fooled everybody. He was dominant overall. This Padres team looked dominant. The 4 infield singles in Game 2, the home runs in Game 1. The bullpen was nasty. The pitching is nasty. Petco Park was rocking. Man, this Padres team just rolled over Atlanta. It really was not a contest for about 90% of this series because they were just that dominant. Which leads us to the Division Series against the Dodgers, who are looking for revenge since 2022. And quite frankly, it terrifies me because Schilt was very smart. Cease is available to go in Game 1, and it's probably going to be King in Game 2 with Darvish and Musgrove going Games 3 and 4. He has this rotation set up perfectly to counter our only 2 starting pitchers, and Los Angeles is not a very fortifying place to play in the playoffs. I will admit it. Dodger Stadium has not been rocking at all. It might be the easiest place to play in the playoffs, quite frankly. Let's lower the damn ticket prices, get the fans in there. But I still have faith, even despite what I said in the preview, because if any offense can do it, it's going to be the Dodgers offense. Ohtani will not see anything to hit unless Betts makes him pay, and Betts has been putting in the work. He's got to make him pay. Freddie Freeman had one bad playoff series. Let's not judge him for that. He is a very good playoff performer overall. I think he'll get it together and really perform in this series. And you're really just counting on the rest of the lineup to do something at all. You're looking at Knack and Buehler to step up because Flaherty and Yamamoto, you know what you're getting out of them. You need 6 innings out of them no matter what because you have to save the bullpen for Game 3 and 4. And most importantly, you cannot go to San Diego with the series tied because it's not coming back to LA. I do not see this team winning a single game in San Diego. They have to win all 3 at home because they get flustered so easily. Dave Roberts is not a good motivator. If things go bad down there, it's going to be horrible for this team overall. And I'm dreading this because, on the one hand, if I pick the Padres, I'm going to get yelled at by my parents. But on the other hand, if I pick the Dodgers, I'm a homer who goes against my own World Series prediction. But this Padres team is phenomenal. Even with the one mess up from Jason Adam, Suarez and Scott looked so good. Mortejon looks so good out of the bullpen. Their pitching looks great. The lineup has been killing them in every single spot. I'm picking the Padres in 4. I don't see how the Dodgers overcome their lack of pitching, especially with the fact that you're throwing your 2 worst pitchers in one of the hardest places to play in October. It's just not going to go well for them. And it's really going to suck because I'm going to be hearing it. But overall, the Dodgers are going to lose 4-1 to the Padres. But let me know. Am I wrong with any of my picks? How do you think the Wildcard Series went? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Play Network. And don't forget on the way out, play ball.